Hey there, YouTube family. Welcome back to the channel, Winning in the Workplace. I am Dr. K, and I'm back with another question from one of the viewers. I'm also sticking with my student-teacher theme. So I have my notes off to the side. I'm going to be going back and forth, so let's dive into it. So today's video is going to cover a very sensitive topic about student teaching that we rarely talk about, and it's the mentor teacher student teacher relationship. So, what happens when your cooperating teacher or your mentor teacher is not cooperating or providing the right mentorship that you need? So, let me just say this is a hard one because the whole mentorship around student teaching can make or break the entire experience. So, I want to make sure that we understand how to work through this and how we can be successful. So, this question is coming from Karina. As you know, I will summarize her question and then let's see if we can help her out in the community. So, here's the situation. Karina reached out and said that her cooperating teacher is polite but distant. She's not getting feedback that she feels like she needs. She's not being supported. And she often feels like her cooperating teacher doesn't like her. And why does she feel that way? Well, the cooperating teacher hinted that she was supposed to be assigned another student teacher that she really wanted to work with. And then Karina kind of feels like she really doesn't want to work with me. Another thing that her cooperating teacher is doing that she doesn't really like is when Karina is teaching, doing her lessons as assigned, her cooperating teacher often interrupts and overtalks her and starts teaching it herself. So that makes Karina feel like she is unqualified, she's doing a poor job, she's not doing what she's supposed to be doing, and she's worried that it's going to hold her back. She's not going to get the experience that she needs to be able to successfully complete her student teaching and then move into her own teaching role. So she doesn't want to cause conflict. This is a very touchy relationship, that student teacher and mentor teacher relationship, and she just wants to kind of go with the flow. So that's the situation. Here's what I told Karina. So, first, I'm going to say to everybody, and I said this to Karina as well, that you are not alone. Student teaching placements are sometimes quite anxiety ridden, right? It really depends on whether you have a cooperating or mentor teacher who is positive, whether that will be a positive experience for you. So I told Karina to first know that she is doing a good job. And just because her mentor teacher is not hands on or is aloof or maybe distant, a little hands off, or maybe her mentor teacher can be a little over controlling. That is not the reflection on the student teacher. Being a great classroom teacher does not automatically make someone a great mentor. So, as you know, I've been a principal and I've worked with student teachers one on one as a university supervisor. And then I work with my selecting mentor teachers to work with my student teachers, a job I always took very seriously. So I was not just looking for my master teachers in the classroom. Yes, I want my master teachers, but I also was looking for a very important quality. And that quality was, can this master teacher mentor student teachers? That is the key. Just because they're great in their classroom and they can do their own thing and they're rocking and rolling does not mean that's going to successfully translate over to being a great mentor. So you got to find that right balance. One thing I want you to understand, and here are several things that I pointed out to Karina. Just because your cooperating teacher is silent and not willing to sit down and kind of reflect with you about your ability doesn't mean that they are being deliberately standoffish or aloof. Some teachers, some mentor teachers, cooperating teachers don't feel comfortable giving feedback. They feel uncomfortable. They feel like, I'm not her principal, I'm not her supervisor. Who am I to be telling her? Well, They are your coach for, that particular amount of time, but they do feel uncomfortable. Some feel a great amount of anxiety. They're not quite sure what to say. So that's the first thing I told Karina to be aware of. The second thing I told Karina was to, yes, you do deserve actionable, supportive feedback. You're a student teacher. This is a very important time in your career. You've done all these classes, you've gotten to the end to student teach, and now this is the place to rock and roll. You need the information. So you deserve that. So you have to kind of maybe push your mentor teacher into giving you feedback in a very gentle way. So I told her to start asking specific questions. Ask lots of questions, constant questions, because that's what the whole student teacher experience is about. And maybe that might jumpstart your mentor teacher feeling more comfortable in reciprocating in that conversation, because you're asking her or him, your mentor teacher, specific questions that will help them maybe guide themselves into the conversation. The next thing I told Karina to do is to advocate for herself, right? You're going to be polite, you're going to be professional, but you also are going to have to kind of take the lead and sit down with that mentor teacher to say, okay, so last week I want to make sure that, I'm growing in the right direction. I want to make sure I'm getting what I need. Can you share one thing with me from last week that I did well? And then give me one area that you feel like you want me to work on for next week. Again, that's going to help that mentor teacher be more specific in the conversation. You've given them specific questions and they can give you specific answers and feedback, and you've helped them kind of work themselves into that conversation. The next thing I told her, and this is a biggie, and it's not to be negative, but you want to document, document, document. You're not documenting in a negative way. You're not trying to catch the mentor teacher doing something wrong, or you're not trying to get them in trouble, but you're documenting more in a reflective way, right? So you want to be thinking about, as the student teacher, what you're teaching. What did I teach last week? What subject? What did I do in literacy? What was I doing in science? And then what feedback you requested from your mentor teacher. And then you want to also document, and this is important, what support you received. So I asked my mentor teacher A, B, and C. I told them maybe I was struggling with classroom management, or maybe I was struggling with lesson planning, and you didn't get the feedback that you wanted. You want to document that. And why are you documenting? Again, not to catch anybody doing anything bad, is because you want to be able to sit down with your university supervisor when they come out and have the conversation and keep them in the loop. So again, I have worn many hats in education, and one of them was as a university supervisor working with student teachers. So as a university supervisor, my job was to go out and observe my student teachers. I usually saw them once a week doing a lesson, and then I would sit down with the mentor teacher, student teacher, and myself, and we would have a conversation, and then I would pull my student teacher out for a private conversation, just so they felt like they can tell me things they may not have felt comfortable saying in front of the mentor teacher. My job has always been, as a university supervisor, to be a mother hen. I protected my babies. These are my babies, right? I want them to graduate. I want them to do well. And if you tell me as a university supervisor, okay, here are my notes, some things have been going on, I want to bring you up to snuff. That is when you have that conversation with your university supervisor. You don't do that conversation in week 15 and you graduate in week 16 and you're failing student teaching. You want to do it in the beginning when things are starting to go astray and you're like, oh, I'm feeling a little uncomfortable. I just want to loop you in. Again, this is not a negative. You're not trying to get anybody in trouble. You are trying to get what you need to be successful in student teaching, so that when you finish student teaching, you will feel confident going into your own classroom. And that was one of the questions I addressed last week, right? Look at that video. I'll put it up here and link it for you. What do you do when you feel like you're not ready after a student teaching experience? So you don't want to be in that boat. Let's try to knock that out. And then the last thing I told her was to think about this as a growth experience. Just because the student teaching experience is not going the way you dreamed. You know, we have all these dreams about student teaching. You want it to be a great way. I hope I got a great mentor teacher. I hope my class is wonderful. Okay, so it's not going the way you want it. You still can grow from this experience, but you're going to have to be more reflective. You're going to have to take on more of that leadership role because your mentor, unfortunately, is not perfect. So, many strong teachers still come away from imperfect student teaching experiences as a wonderful teacher. How do they do that? You're going to have to learn how to self reflect, right? You go into your lessons. If your mentor teacher is not going to tell you what you did well and what you need to work on, you're going to have to do it yourself. Okay, what did I do well in this lesson? Where do I think I messed up? And what do I need to do differently next time? You just do that yourself. And then advocate again for yourself with your university supervisor. Maybe find some teachers on the team. Everybody kind of takes student teachers under their wing. So, you can befriend others, make sure you don't, ruffle any feathers with your mentor teacher, but talk to other people. Oh, can I come and watch you do that lesson? I heard great things. Do you mind if I sit in? Just clear it with your mentor teacher and keep on going. And then I want to say specifically, I said this to Karina, but you are already doing great things. You reached out for support. You are showing great professionalism and taking your personal success in your hands. I think you're going to be fine. It may not be as easy as some of the other colleagues in your classes are saying, oh, my mentor teacher is wonderful. You don't have that. So you're going to have to work around it. You will be fine. Keep pushing, keep shining. All right, so that's it. If you are a student teacher and you're in this boat and you feel like, oh my gosh, this is me, reach out to me, reach out to the community, leave your questions or your thoughts there. Community members, please feel free to leave your comments and helpful suggestions for these young student teachers as they embark in this teaching career. I also have some products that can help some student teachers. I have it on my Etsy shop, and I'll post that in the description. These products will help our student teachers be more self-reflective and help you think more deeply about your experience. And then if you are new to student teaching and you feel like you want to have a more structured experience and I want to hit the ground running and start on the right foot, I do have a course, Ace Your Student Teaching, in Udemy, and I have a coupon code that I will link here that will help you dig in a little deeper to student teaching. All right, guys, that's it for now. Take care, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you.